you guys, the viewers, playing a game of chess against Caden. That game is going to start here in just a few minutes. I want to give everybody kind of a quick overview, give everybody a chance to kind of settle in, tell you guys how this works. There's a lot of moving pieces going on here. First of all, Chess Fest has been great this week. We talked with our friends from the St. Louis Chess Club. We talked with our friends at the National Capital Area Council. We talked about chess boards, the physical chess boards, how those worked. We talked about joining virtual games of chess, which is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be playing Caden here virtually. He does not have a physical chess board in front of him. He's going to be playing on his screen virtually through a website called Lichess. All of you can join in by commenting on whatever website you're watching this video on right now. We have real folks behind the scenes that will be counting your votes. We do ask that you use chess notation to vote. I'm going to explain real quick how that writes. You can see a little bit right there. Don't worry about it. I'll go over the basics. It's easy. For those of you who have been watching this week, you've probably already got the hang of it. If you haven't been watching, if you've just joined us, welcome. We're glad to have you. I'm going to show you real quick how to do it. Caden's going to help me out. He's a lot smarter than I am. We are very, very excited to get started today. You guys know behind the scenes Brian. We've talked about behind the scenes Brian multiple times on this show. He's the guy that makes everything tick behind the scenes for us. Today, we are joined by another behind the scenes VIP. Welcome everybody behind the scenes, Eric. And Eric is the one, he's got a very important job today. He is controlling our side of the chessboard. Can we bring up Eric's chessboard, Brian, so we can see what it looks like? Eric, do you hear me?
Yes, I do. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Eric. As you can see, that screen right now, that's the actual screen where we're going to be playing the game. Eric is going to be putting in our moves. When I say our moves, I really mean your moves, the viewers' moves. Caden's going to be playing on his own end. He has already accepted a chess match from Scout Life magazine. Guys, here's how it's going to work, okay? Pay attention. I'm only going to say this once, but seriously, it's very easy. There's this thing called chess notation. If you note on the screen right now, at the bottom of the screen, there are a series of letters starting from the bottom left, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then there are a series of numbers going up on the top right side of the screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is called chess notation, and those letters and those numbers, as you could probably tell, provide the coordinates. And the key is the coordinates are going to determine the destination of where we're going. So to communicate your move, to vote in the comments section for what you think we should do, we need two pieces of information from you. We need to know which piece you want to move, and you use that using the letter, okay, the letter that stands for the piece. For example, K is for king. If you want to move the king, we need to know a K. Q for queen, R for rook, B for bishop. N is for knight. Important distinction there. The K is for king, so we can't use K twice, right, Caden? K is for knight. I'm sorry, N is for knight. So if you want to move the knight, for example, your first thing you need to type in is N. The second thing you need to type in is the destination. So for example, looking, by the way, we are the white team, folks. We're going to be going first. Looking at the knight there, that's on the light colored space, our knight. If you want that knight to move, you would chime in with B and then the destination, which would be either A3 or C3. Okay, easy enough, simple as that. So it's the letter represents the piece and then the coordinates of the destination. Now, if we're going to be capturing an opponent's piece, you put an X in there. We're going to accept the move. If you forget the X, that's fine. There are other situations where, for example, you'll know, obviously we have two knights, we have two bishops, we have two rooks. If we're in a situation where we can move either one of those, you then have to specify both the move from and the move to. For example, you might say knight. If you want to move this knight that's currently sitting in B1, you would say in B, and then you'd go to the destination, okay? If you follow along with the comments, there are lots of folks who have been commenting this whole week who seem to know chess notation. They could probably explain it better than I can. Caden, have I left anything out? Does that sound about right? Did I hit all the main topics there?
Yeah, no, I think you did a pretty good job. One thing I'll just add, this may not be as relevant for today, but one of the great things about really understanding chess notation is you can hit a point you don't need a board to play. Now, it may sound pretty crazy, but I've had times I've been sitting at dinner with a friend that, a really good chess player as well, and we're just sitting there using that chess notation, saying where we're moving, keeping track of it in our heads, and it's an adventure, but it's a lot of fun when you can do that.
And we've learned this week that another advantage of knowing chess notation is to keep track of the games you play. So you can go back and kind of analyze what happened, what went wrong, maybe what went right. If you're lucky, right? You can talk to your coach or your merit badge counselor or whoever it might be, your parents,
Absolutely.
about how the game went, can find out what went wrong. Like we said, get some advice. We've got a lot of folks watching. We are just literally seconds away from starting the big match, guys. Just a reminder, all votes must be submitted here in the comments where you're watching. We're going to allow a couple of minutes between moves. I don't think we're going to put a timer on the screen or anything like that. But just so you know, we are just going to allow a couple of minutes. We don't want to keep Caden here for too long. So we are going to have a couple of minutes for each move. You don't really have to worry about that. But just so you know, take a second to analyze the board after Caden goes, and then comment with your vote for each move. Caden will obviously go again. Then our votes will continue again. Obviously, you guys know how it works, back and forth. With quick shout out to Eric Caden, another Caden, one of our viewers who's been watching all week. Caden says hello. I think he's ready to play. Good job. Rob notes that the first move he's going to make is for leftover Halloween candy. Thank you, Rob. We're trying to play a game of chess here, though. Please, Rob. Thank you, though. Just FYI, we've already voted for our first move. Those of you who are chiming in with votes for our first move, we appreciate that. The first move, however, has already been decided, and we're going to unveil that. Caden doesn't know it. So we're going to unveil that first move here in just a second, and then you will be voting for really what will be our second move. I should probably clarify, speaking of chess notation, you don't have to signify a pawn, right, Caden? The pawn, you just simply say, for example, if you wanted to move to A4, we just know that's the pawn. Do I have that right, Caden?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you include that P in there, that people are going to understand, right. But normally you just leave it out and know that that's the pawn.
Right. There are, when you play this game, the good thing about playing through a system like Lichess is it won't let us make any illegal moves, but obviously we're going to abide by the rules of chess. This is just a basic chess game. Caden knows all the ins and outs of all the different things you can do in chess. I certainly don't. Maybe some of the viewers do. Maybe sometimes they don't. Feel free to comment again on what you think we should be doing when it comes to things like castling and things like that. Special shout out to all the folks who are helping us behind the scenes. Our good friend Gina, who you normally see in front of the camera here, she is going to be doing a great job today counting your votes along with our good friend Kate. I already introduced you to behind the scenes Eric. We sure miss having Gina on camera, Caden, but she is doing some good work behind the scenes. We decided to have actual human beings counting your votes because in case there's a typo or in case someone mistypes, we could still figure that out. If we use some sort of algorithm, it might get missed, right? So we're using actual life humans. Gina and Kate are counting that up. Caden, any final words before we get started here? I would say take it easy. But, Caden, take it easy on us. But Caden didn't get to become a grandmaster by taking it easy on anybody. I thought you said, Caden, yesterday, you put it really well. When you play chess, it's fun. You try to win, but it's fun. Any thoughts on today's match before we get started?
Yeah, just best of luck to everyone. I know in the Chess Merit Badge, one of the parts it talks about etiquette. That's something that's really important. You try to be respectful no matter the result. So wish everyone the best of luck. Definitely feel free to come at me with all you have, because I did say have fun, and I absolutely mean that. But when it comes to game time, time to play your best. So that's what I'm going to do, and I expect everyone else to do the same.
Absolutely. All right. Let's get this game started. Eric, are you ready to make our first move?
I am ready.
Okay, here goes, folks. Caden, prepared to be blown away. Our first move is, and you have just witnessed the pawn to E4. That is, I believe, our first move. Caden is now on the clock. And guys, I want you to be ready in the comment section. Obviously, after Caden moves here, he's thinking about it. It will be our turn to vote again. I'm going to step back for a second here and let Caden think about his move. Please follow along, everybody. Even if you don't comment, feel free to follow our game along. I'm very excited and eager to see how this turns out. Caden, whenever you're ready, sir. All right. Caden has made his move, everybody. Now, this is kind of where the real fun begins. We need you guys to comment and vote using chess notation on what our next move should be. A grandmaster like Caden already has multiple moves planned out. We don't have the luxury of doing that. We're just kind of doing it on the fly here, but that's okay. We're gonna improvise. We're gonna do it well. You've got 2 minutes, everybody, to come up with our next move. Reminder, chess notation in the comments, wherever you're watching. Let's give our viewers a couple of minutes here, Caden, to analyze the screen and decide what they want to do.
Yeah. And I will say that with that time limit, that's really the big test. If you have all the time in the world, I think a lot of people can come up with really good move. But once you get that time ticking, you start to feel the pressure. It feels a lot different, and that's the real challenge.
Caden, when you play in tournaments, do they have time limits for those in general?
Yeah. It's usually pretty long. I'd say most games last about 3-4 hours, sometimes longer,
Right.
sometimes shorter, but yeah, it's and that's timed. Like that's not just us going and taking however much time. No, they give us a lot of time to think because it's a complicated game.
Very nice, very good. Well, folks, we've just got about a minute left waiting to hear what will be our second move. We voted for our first move throughout this week. The votes are coming in, being tallied by our friends behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of votes here. Gina and Kate counting them up as we speak. Just another few seconds, guys. So in this case, Caden, are you already thinking about your next move? Are you already kind of anticipating what we're going to do and thinking about what you're going to do next?
Oh yeah. So this E4 C5 is commonly known as the Sicilian. I've been playing this for many years, and we pretty much no matter what is played by white, I've probably seen it before. We're still pretty early in the game, so it's for me, even though I've seen it before, I've played different things before, just considering the situation, just okay, how do I want to steer this game, and thinking about that already a lot of that going
I'm
on.
sure our viewers are doing the same thing as we enter. Just a few more seconds left to get your comments in, folks. One thing we've learned a lot in this last week is and it's actually part of the chess merit badge, is the idea of the opening. There's 3 sections of the game: the opening, the middle, mid game, and the end game. This is obviously still in the opening, and a lot of experienced players have opening moves planned out. Many opening moves it looks like our next move is in. The voting has closed. We have a winner. Eric is going to make the move right now. It looks like we are going knight F3. Caden, I'm not sure if you saw that coming or not. Knight F3 is our move. Caden is now on the clock, everybody. All right. Caden, it would appear, has made his move. And once again, guys, it is our turn to counter. We're going to find out in just a second here if we've thrown Caden off his plan or if everything is going exactly as he has foreseen it. Remember, vote right now for our next move. We're the white team. If you're just joining us, vote in the comments using chess notation. It's only 2 moves into the game, Caden. Any thoughts so far on how we're doing?
I mean, this is pretty common. Knight f3, that last move played is the most common after this e4 c5. Probably in this early stage, this, even though it's moved to one of the bigger decision points for me, I've played this move g6 many times. I've also played d6 many times. They lead to very different positions. D6 is a lot more complicated, a lot more kind of pre-memorization. G6, it's a bit easier to just play. You know, I'm not as worried about all those moves I've prepared before, so wanted to go for this one.
It's interesting to hear Caden and other experienced players talk about the scenarios that they've seen before. They've played so many games that it's probably very, very unlikely that they will be taken by surprise. Certainly not this early in the game, I think. Just another minute or so, guys. A reminder, vote in the comment section using chess notation. Great job last time. There were some, I'm just sort of scanning the comments here. I'm not doing any official counting. I would say there are some folks in the comments, based on what I'm seeing here, though, Caden, seem to know what they're talking about. Very impressed with our viewers so far. They've either been paying attention all week long, which is good, we hope, or they just joined for the first time and already have a lot of chess knowledge. Either way, we're happy to have you guys watching and here. Will be interesting to see how this game goes. Again, just another few seconds until we have to make our next move, guys. I'm gonna shut up for a second. I'll let Caden analyze the board and let our viewers do the same. I'll let you know when we are ready to make our next move. Okay, it looks like we have our next move. Eric, if you got that message, there it goes. We have moved our pawn up to, I believe that is d4, Caden. Good luck dealing with that. I don't know how he's going to handle this, guys. We will have to see. It is Grandmaster Caden Troth's turn. Everybody who's watching at home, I encourage you to, let's try to anticipate, what is Caden going to do? How are we going to counter it? I'm gonna be quiet while Caden thinks about it. I don't want to distract him too much.
No, I'll let the anticipation build, but still something I'm very familiar with. This I mentioned yesterday when we were talking about the opening principles, this idea of fighting for the central squares, and that's exactly what this move is. It's a good move. Now we'll get to see a bit more, and I've captured it. See if they're gonna take it, or sometimes people even try to sacrifice that pawn. That's opening.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So we've got Caden has put us into an interesting dilemma. We could take his pawn if we want to. That's not up to me. It's up to the viewers. I encourage everybody to think about it, analyze the board, see what you think. You're on the clock for 2 minutes, everybody. Great job so far. This is very exciting. We're getting a lot of people voting. Caden doesn't seem to be sweating yet, but we'll see how it goes. Caden, you've seen this scenario before. You said. Contained. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you're familiar with this scenario that you're seeing play out here, you said.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that this could lead into something I've seen before for quite a number of moves. I'd say maybe even up to 15, as I also mentioned yesterday. Likely, I think it's not going to, and probably start getting unique positions somewhat early on. But so far, this is pretty standard.
All right. I don't think that's a bad sign, audience, when he says that it's standard. I think we're still doing okay. Encourage you again to analyze the board. Take another few seconds, and we comment with what you think our next move should be. We will relay that move to behind the scenes Eric, who is running our chessboard, and we will all see it live as it happens. A very exciting day for us. Not every day you get to play against a grandmaster in chess. We are, again, happy to have Caden on. Happy to have all you guys watching. Okay, I see some interesting votes coming in here. I don't have a final total yet, so I don't want to speculate. I'm not the official vote counter. Just a few more seconds, guys. If you're just joining us, some people are still joining. We are playing a live match of chess against a grandmaster, and it's not too late to join in. Comment anytime. We have our next move. Eric is going to be putting it in behind the scenes here any second now. And it looks like our viewers have chosen to take that pawn. How will Caden respond to this, guys? Let's wait and see. And again, as Caden contemplates this, let's think about what we're going to do next. Okay, there you go, folks. There you have it. Caden has made his move. He makes me nervous because he seems so confident, everybody. But you know what? That's okay. We're going to try not to be intimidated by his nerves of steel. Caden, the strategy behind that move there?
Yeah, so the way I'm playing it with this G6, Bishop G7, it's related to something that an opening that I've always loved the name of, but the dragon. And I'm guessing it's called that because it can often lead to a bunch of craziness. This is a bit more of heading in the direction of an accelerated dragon. So the details of that are pretty complicated, but you think the dragon's aggressive. This aims to, accelerated, maybe even speed it up a little bit. So no, I won't give away all my tricks, but hoping for something of an attack pretty early on.
Mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate the commentary. In case it's not obvious, Caden knows what he's doing. It looks like a lot of our viewers know what they're doing too. Keep those comments coming, guys. Just another minute or so on this vote. Very impressed with the chess notation that I'm seeing on the screen. You guys have picked that up no problem. Good job there. Another half a minute or so, and we'll see how this vote turns out. And if you've already commented with your vote, I think what a good chess player would be doing would be now to be thinking about what Caden might do after you make your move and how you're going to respond to that.
Yeah, always planning ahead. That's a good thing that you really have to do if you want to get good at chess.
Some of our viewers are commenting with strategy and different thoughts and not just basic chess moves, which is really impressive. I don't want to read out loud because I don't want Caden to know what we're thinking. We don't want to. He's got enough of an advantage as it is, being an extremely talented player. So we don't want to give him any more advantages. But lots of good discussion going on in the comments right now.
I don't know if I should say that's good to hear or that's unfortunate to hear, but I still can appreciate the fact that they're putting in some good effort.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, wow. I've just gotten a very interesting note, Caden. We are currently waiting for a tiebreaker vote. So it looks
Really?
like we have a tie and are waiting for, I think maybe I'm not sure how we do tiebreakers. We'll leave that to behind the scenes, Gina and Kate to determine, but waiting for a tiebreaker vote. So you guys are doing a great job. It looks like there's a tie. And so maybe the next vote's going to break that tie. Let's see how it goes. Just a few more seconds, everybody.
I'm feeling the anticipation, and I don't even know the moves that are tied.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that either. They don't tell me that. Probably because they're afraid that I'll blab it to you. I'm sorry. I'm being told we have 3 different moves that are tied for first. So we need tiebreaker votes, guys. Wow, 3 moves tied for first. People are really getting into this. All right, good job, guys, voting and everything. Good job. Will be any second now as Gina counts up our tie-breaking votes, everybody. I see the votes coming in. I'm glad I don't have to count them. Special thanks to the good folks who are counting for us right now. And we have a tie-breaking vote. Eric, whenever you are ready, sir. There you go. And there is our move. Pawn to c3. We got an out of Caden, everybody. So that's maybe a good sign. I don't know. We're about to find out.
I will say, so a common move here is actually to push the pawn one more time. This only once is a bit more rare. So once he started to grab that pawn, I was kind of like, oh, that pawn's going, and then it stopped in between, and now I got.
All right, we threw him off there, guys. Good job.
Yeah.
So that is pawn to c3 is what that was, and now we'll see how Caden responds. And guys, be ready to comment to vote on what our next move should be. Okay, Caden has brought out his knight, and it is our turn to counter. As a reminder, we are the white team. Comment in the vote in the comments section using chess notation. You guys are doing great. Caden, your thoughts?
Here I'm still trying to stick somewhat with what I had already been thinking. This type of setup I'm going with. I mean, it's meant to be aggressive. So I have that bishop eyeing, towards the middle of the board. I'm bringing my knight out. I'm just trying to get my pieces developed, and also trying to maybe anticipate a little bit what they might be thinking. So waiting. My other knight, I likely want to bring it out at some point, but just waiting on that one, at least for a move. Bring my knight to c6 and see, what their plan is.
All right. Good job, everybody. This is probably still considered the opening part of the game, Caden. If you talk about the 3 sections of the game, we're not yet to the mid game yet, I think, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a funny thing because even for someone like me, I don't know if there's some defining moment. You're just like, okay, yes, it's the opening. No, it's not. But it still is the opening just because we're still developing, we're still figuring out our setups. Once we have those in place, we've gotten our pieces out, hopefully our kings out of the middle. Don't want to leave them there too long
Sure.
usually.
Sure.
Then the fight really starts to happen and we're to the middle game.
Gotcha. All right. You heard it there, folks. We're still kind of in the opening section of the game here. Just a few more seconds. Boy, I'm really impressed with some of our comments that you would understand, Caden, but I don't. I want to read them to you, but I'm not going to because I don't want to spoil our strategy here. Thankfully, we have
that's
Eric.
always the tricky thing about a game like this is as much as you might want to discuss strategy during the game, you don't want to give it any tiny bit to your opponent.
One thing I can really appreciate about Caden is that he's a competitor, I think, and I think he wants to win, as he should. He didn't get to be grandmaster on accident. You don't just get to be just like you don't get to be a top athlete or player in anything by accident. You do it by being competitive. So I think he's bringing his game today, folks, and I think some of our viewers are too. Man, really interesting comments, guys. Just a few more seconds and we will have our next move. Eric, I'm glad we have you making these moves. I don't know if you're seeing the comments or not, but there's lots of strategy being discussed. You might know what they're saying.
I am not seeing the comments.
Well, maybe you would understand them. I don't, which is a good sign because Caden would beat me in about 5 moves, so that's good.
Well, I was going to ask you, Aaron, even though you've got your eye on the comments and it's our viewers that are choosing the move, if you were playing Caden, what would your next move be?
You see, I was afraid someone might ask me that, and boy, I don't know. Here's the thing, Eric. I don't want to influence our viewers with my chess expertise. I want them to choose, and if I weigh in, with the expertise of a really experienced player like me, I don't want to tilt the game one way or the other. I'm just going to let our viewers choose the next move.
No, sounds like you've been preparing that answer all morning long, Aaron.
Yes, I've had that answer prepared ever since we had this idea to do this show today. So, okay, our next move is in. Eric sees it around the same time I do, so he'll be making it on the screen any second now. Okay. There we go. Bishop to E3. It looks like maybe, again, Caden, you've talked about it before, controlling that middle of the board. I'm certainly not smart enough to know if that's what we're doing, but it seems like that's what we're trying to do a little bit here.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting move, Bishop E3. I mean, it's definitely one in this type of position I've seen before, but when you talk about developing your pieces, I think often at the early stages when you're first learning chess, you're thinking, attack, as far as you can move the piece, move it. And you notice with this bishop, that bishop's not going to G5, it's not going to F4. It's staying right now, Bishop E3, and still keeping its possibilities open. It's like this good developing but protecting, just trying to keep everything balanced.
Okay. Caden has brought out his knight. I don't know. Okay, it's our turn to vote, but while we vote, Caden, what's the strategy there?
Oh, what
If you can
can I
say.
say without? Yeah,
We might be getting
uh,
to the point in the game where Caden doesn't want to reveal too much, and that's totally fine.
yeah. I'm happy to reveal it after they move. No,
Right,
a lot
exactly.
of truth in
Yes.
that.
Understood.
But yeah, it's okay. This, I'll say two simple things about this that are clear if you are thinking about those opening principles we talked about yesterday. Uh, Developing my knight, it's not on that back rank anymore. That's pretty simple. But I'm also clearing the way. We talked about castling yesterday, and that knight was in the way of me doing so. So now with my king and rook, the way is clear. Next move, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. Always got to pay attention to what my opponent's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a real possibility now that I've cleared the way. So those are the two basic ones. More specifically, that I won't go into as much detail, trying to create some threats now that they're going to have to be mindful of. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm again really impressed by our commenters. Some of them even asking, what are you going to do next? Which is exactly what you should be thinking about when you're playing chess. You guys are doing great. Keep up the good work. Just another minute or so left in our turn here as we take on our grandmaster and Eagle Scout.
one thing I will say, Aaron, just about that thinking ahead. I know from different questions I've got over the years, a lot of people, oh, how far do you think? 5, 10, 20 moves? And generally speaking, it's really not that far. Uh, I do have games that I am thinking that far ahead, that it is possible. But in some of these positions, you have so many pieces that could be moving, so many possibilities that you have to use some of those principles of chess. What's typically good? What am I fighting for? To distinguish what you should be thinking about. So rather than relying so much on thinking or trying to think 5, 10 moves ahead, you're using both. You're using that ability to think ahead combined with what you understand of what's good and not.
Very interesting to look into the little insight into the mind of a good player. We've learned a lot this week on Chess Week. Putting it to the test now in our match against Grandmaster and Eagle Scout. Just a few more seconds. Oh, we've got our next move in. Eric will make it on the screen here. Bishop, it looks like, to D3. Really, it looks like we've got all of our guys right there in the middle, which I think is okay. Let's see what Caden does, folks.
I said I was going to think about it before, and seems like a good opportunity. Castle, get my king out of the center. With their last move, they did see my threat of wanting to take their pawn right there on e4. So just a good time, since they stopped my threat, to plan for the
Yep, Eric,
future, get my king
right.
out of the middle.
Yep. Eric is pointing out there that Caden could have taken that pawn right there. I think you said it was e4, right? Yep, right there. We have blocked that by moving our bishop over there. Yep, so we can take that pawn if we want to. Reminder, folks, it's our turn again. It is time to comment, vote with your next move. Just to let everybody know, when we had Caden on yesterday, I asked him, how often do you castle? And he said, well, when I play for real, when I play a serious game, almost every time. He has just castled. What does that tell you? You might be taking this seriously, guys. I think that's great. We're going to have our work cut out for us. So far, this is tons of fun, and we're getting a lot of good feedback in the comments. Good job, guys. Another couple of minutes till we make our next move A lot of good comments on our side. Let me just say, I don't want to say what people are saying because I don't want to influence you. I'm not even going to say it. A lot of good comments on our side.
I can see so badly you want to say it, but I was just kudos to you for not giving away their secrets despite
Thank you. Yes,
clearly
thank you.
wanting to.
Yes, thank you. It is interesting to watch the comments come in, Caden, because there are a lot of different ideas. Quick shout out to Pack 806, who was watching from Jordan. We have a lot of international viewers, Caden, on our show here.
That's great.
Pack 86, I don't think you've voted yet. Get in there and vote for our next move, guys. We want to know what Pack 806 thinks we should be doing. A lot of people voting and a lot of different votes. So I guess that kind of shows, the different options that are out there that are available, the different strategies.
Yeah, and
it's interesting to see that coming in. Yes.
Yeah.
So we've just made our move. I don't think I even went over chess notation for castling, but our viewers figured it out. That's called a kingside castle. Do I have that right, Caden?
Yep. So with the notation, you have that 0-0 for castling. For the kingside castling, then for the queenside castling, you do the 0-0, and then you add another -0. So a bit longer, I guess, because it's on the longer side. One of those interesting notations.
Yeah. Well, I saw the 0-0 in there. Didn't want to admit that I didn't know what it meant, so I didn't say anything. Thank you for explaining it. Let's see what Caden does next, guys.
Okay, they've done a really good job, trying to hold on to the center, but I think it's time for me to really start fighting there. So
okay, you heard him. He's going to really start fighting here. He just moved his pawn out to, I think that is a D4. What is it? D5. Yep. Our turn to make a move. This is the part that makes me a little bit nervous when Caden said it's time to start fighting. Let's focus in here, guys. All right, this is where it's about to get serious. Great job so far, everybody. Keep those comments coming. Keep those votes coming. Take a moment to analyze the board. You have 2 minutes to make our next move. Eric, I see quite a few possibilities. You asked what I would do. I don't know, Eric. I honestly don't know. What would you do?
Well, like Caden was talking before, and our friends over at the Capital Area Council, now you're getting to the point where you have multiple different ways that you can go, right? And so
Yep.
each potential piece, each move, there's a multitude of ways that the game will go depending on what you choose. So I think this is where maybe we're starting to get into that middle game where you've got to think a little bit more and definitely consider multiple moves ahead. If I move this piece here, what's that going to mean 2 or 3 moves down the line? If I move this piece instead, how is that going to play out? So yeah, they're going to be hard pressed, our viewers, to make their move in 2 minutes.
Yep, agreed. This game has been going on now for about 25 minutes or so. I'm impressed that we've lasted that long, guys. We haven't lost yet. That's the good news. We're hanging in there. I think Eric is right. We've got a lot of options here. So take another 30 seconds or so, everybody. Make your vote. Leave it in the comments. We'll make our next move. See some interesting votes coming in. Again, a nice variety of votes, Caden. I guess that's probably pretty common when you have a group of people, right? We've got a lot of different ideas of what we should be doing next. It'll be interesting to see which move wins the vote.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, one of the great things about chess, some of the tournaments you go to, the bigger tournaments, you get to this, playing hall, and you could have 1,000 people just about it. One of these tournaments in one just huge room playing chess. So tons of ideas, happening right there. And
Hmm.
that's what's great about chess is you get a bunch of different people. They'll have different ideas. There's good and bad things to be learned from all of them. Um, and so far
Hmm.
they've kept a pretty solid setup. That's great.
Good, good. So curious, Caden, in a room like that, 1,000 people playing chess,
Hmm.
how quiet is it? Is it like super quiet? Is everybody focused in?
Yeah, it's one of the most incredible things is being in those playing halls, and because chess is, has this very respectful, good etiquette side, and because so many people are concentrated, it can just be unbelievably quiet, like almost scary quiet for
Hmm.
how many
Right.
people there are, that you feel like something's wrong if you don't know what's going on. And I'd say that even, for me becomes more incredible thinking back, because I'd go and play in tournaments in like an age category. So I was young playing other people that were young, and you get all
Right.
these kids playing in this tournament, and they're quiet, and you just every parent wants their kid to play chess at that point.
Yeah, nice. I can't say that I've ever been in a room with a bunch of people playing like that. I have seen it outdoors at a park or whatever where there's a bunch of chessboards lined up, but that's a little different because it's outdoors, it's loud, there's cars, people like that. I can imagine the experience of being indoors with that many people would be kind of interesting. Just a few more seconds, guys, for our next move. We are really entering, I think, the heat of the battle here, as Eric mentioned. The fight for that center of the board, which we've learned this week can be critical, seems to be really heating up here. Okay, we have our next move. Everybody, we have moved our pawn up one more spot. How will Caden respond to that?
Yeah, these are the biggest times that you just want to make sure, think ahead. They're attacking my knight there on f6, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, assuming they haven't set some trap up for me, that I am going to take that pawn with my other knight here. Just have to do some
Okay,
double,
yep. Have to. I'm sorry, say that again, Caden. Have to do some what now?
just do some double checking.
Okay,
When
right.
well, and I don't mean the chess term checking, but when you have this opportunity that your opponent's threatening something, and you're thinking that maybe you can take something like that, so I can take this pawn. I like taking stuff that excites me, and so it's a good time just to kind of take a second, make sure, check it once again, because when you're excited about a move, when you're excited about taking something, it's really easy to overlook stuff. And just want to make sure that I have my
Mm-hmm.
plan moving forward, planning for what they might do now, before I excitedly try and
Mm-hmm.
go for after
So
that pawn.
now you've said something that I can totally relate to when I have played chess, seeing what I think is an opportunity, jumping on it, and then realizing that it wasn't as really good of an opportunity as I thought it was. I totally got trapped. Eric, I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
you've been there before. I'd
yep.
be curious to see what happens next, Eric.
100 times I've been there, more.
Yes.
I've got a buddy in the UK that he and I play back and forth online, and it's forever that with him. I see the
Mm-hmm.
move, I think, oh, this is great, I got it. And then he makes his move, and I thought, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? How did I not see that?
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when you lose your queen by making a mistake that way. That's the worst. You might as well just
Yep.
throw in the towel sometimes.
We have talked during this week about all the cool different ways you can play chess. Playing chess online, what a cool technological advance that has been to be able to play. Eric can play with his friend overseas. You can meet new people that way. You can play with friends. You can play with old friends. You can make new friends. We are using today the platform Lichess. There are others. That's the one we chose for today. Just a few more seconds, everybody. Caden, do you play a lot online, or are you always busy playing in person?
No, I play online quite a bit. I mean, I like playing in person, but it's just so convenient to play online, and it also makes it really easy to find people of your level.
Right. We've just made our move. Yep. Thank you, Caden.
Yeah, they're coming after me.
Pawn to F4. They are. It seems aggressive to me. As Caden thinks about his next move, Eric, don't you agree? It seems like we're being pretty aggressive here, I think.
Yeah, not too bad. Which, Caden, I was going to ask you, when you are playing somebody you've never played before, do you typically take an offensive or aggressive stance and come after them, or do you tend to play more defensively and react to what they do?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the situation, and what I mean by that is at tournaments, usually people have ratings, so you have somewhat of an idea of what to expect, how good someone is, and you also a lot of times, because a lot of these tournament games will go online, you can find them. So for some of those situations, you can get a decent feel for your opponent before the game, which helps, which helps in kind of anticipating, knowing, do I want to be a bit more aggressive? Do I want to be a bit more solid? What kind of player are they? What do they like? In a situation like this, I mean, lots of people are playing, who knows who they all are. I know they're playing well, that they're here for this event and have been learning all week, but I have to be a little bit more cautious, I would say, and tend to be a bit more thoughtful about, okay, what's their strategy, how are they leaning, because I don't want to get overconfident in any way, shape, or form.
For all you know, there's another grandmaster on the other side.
Yeah. Sounds like something I myself might have done if I was a bit younger.
Well, and I like too how you bring up the fact of, if you're playing in a tournament, maybe oftentimes you see the same people, and so you get a feel for them. I think Aaron can appreciate being a sports guy. That's much like, a football team watching the film of their opponent's previous game, so they can see what their tactics are, what their plays are, so they can prepare for them in that upcoming week.
Yeah, it's like watching film or something of an opponent, right?
Yeah, and I think that was one of the big surprises for me, as I started getting more into chess. When I first started playing in tournaments, just show up, whoever I was playing, just try to play the best I could. And then it just started getting more and more where I start to know who my opponent is. I start to, see their previous games and planning for them. And sometimes before the game, that can even be 2-3 hours specifically preparing for them. It gets pretty intense.
Caden has made his move, by the way. It is now our turn. Caden, you mentioned you can watch some, like past games online. There are some kind of famous matches on YouTube. I know, things like that. Do you have like a famous match that you've seen from the past or something like that you have watched and thought, man, that was incredible? Anything that kind of jumps out in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games like that. I
Really?
can't say that I can just sit here and list them all because people would
Hmm.
probably get bored. But I've studied games. Anytime I'm just watching a game and I see something that's, what's going on, I just find it really fascinating. As far as actual players, in probably the last year, because I've found fascination with tons of different players, but in the last year, I've grown in a great appreciation for Anatoly Karpov. Anyone who's not familiar, go look him up. Former world
Hmm.
champion,
Yep.
incredible player. I just really like his style. He was very good at anticipating his opponent's ideas and
Yes.
preventing them.
I wouldn't know about his style, but I do know the name. So yeah, that's, I imagine he's something to watch. Again, as Eric said, it's kind of like if you're want to be a really good, if you're a football coach and you want to have a really good team, you watch film of other teams, see what they're doing, analyze their tendencies. Sounds like it's pretty similar with chess. I'm sure you know, Caden, you have your own style, but you also want to look at what other people are doing and see what you can take from that.
Yeah, it's with chess being so complicated, you could try just playing and playing and studying your games over and over again, and that's good. Like that's an important part of chess,
Hmm.
but it is a great idea. Study games of some of these previous really strong players and basically try to steal their ideas, learn from them.
Hmm.
That's what chess is. It's, a great opportunity to see other people's ideas they spent many hours coming up with and say, oh, i'm
Hmm.
gonna i'm gonna learn from that. I'm gonna adapt that to my own play.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, we just took Caden's knight, I believe, with our bishop. I can't tell if he knew that was going to happen or not. It is now Caden's turn. We're going to let him think for a second here. We don't want to distract him too much. Okay. I kind of thought he would do that, Eric. I felt like that was his next move. I don't know. Okay, Caden, hold on a second. Eric, do you think he planned that out the whole time? You think he knew that was going to happen?
I'm not smart enough to make that call.
I think he did. I'm going to predict that he did. Caden, can you say, was that a calculated risk there that you took? You were willing to make that exchange?
Yeah, so this I will go into a bit more detail. The previous move when they threatened my knight, I had a lot of different moves I was considering, and eventually decided on this knight c4. And I definitely thought it makes sense that they would take back. That was probably the biggest move I was planning on because my knight's threatening their bishop. It's threatening that pawn on b2, just being a pain. But my goal with this move was to trade off that bishop. And as much as I like having that pawn in the center, I did want to get it out, start to open up some space for my knight, for my queen. Um, Pawns are there to assist the pieces, not get in the way. And this seemed like a good way to do that.
All right, guys, you heard Caden's strategy. That was really cool. Thanks for peeling back the curtain there a little bit. Understandably, he doesn't want to tell us everything he's going to do, certainly not before he does it. It is our turn, guys. What will our next move be? Vote in the comments, as you have been doing. We're doing great. I'm impressed with our players, and I'm impressed with our viewers, getting a lot of good votes here. Good job, everybody. We've got another half a minute or so until we make our next move. One thing that and you kind of touched on this before, Caden, is that it's hard to tell while the game's going on kind of at what stage you're at. And I don't know from watching how close we are to an end game. Can you comment on that without revealing too much, or is that going to spoil things?
What's really interesting is just about chess, about this position in particular. As far as that question goes, we could be 30 moves from getting to the end game. really. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't be crazy. Or we
Right.
could be like 5. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if some pieces start getting traded off, it starts to calm down a little bit. We could be right there. So just gonna have to see how it plays out. It also, depends on what each player wants. Like I'll be honest here. Um, I like the way my pieces are developing. I'll likely want to keep some of them on the board, so I might steer it away from an endgame if they try to head in that direction.
Okay. All right.
Not against it,
Right.
but might try to just steer it away a little bit.
Gotcha. Oh, that's really interesting. We've just made our move there. You see knight to d2. It is now Caden's move. Uh, yeah, Gina points out that it looks like, sounds like you're going for style points, which is cool. That's an interesting bit of insight. All part of the strategy. Really lucky to have that, get to hear from a grandmaster, guys. Not every day you get to do that. We'll let Caden think for a second here about his next move. Okay, folks, there you have it. Caden has made his move, moving that knight out there, cluttering up the middle of the board a little bit, it seems like, making life a little more difficult for us. He's not taking it easy on us, I think. It is now our turn, as we've been doing. You guys probably don't need me to keep saying that. Our turn to vote in the comments. Let us know what we should do next. And again, I just want to say I'm just real impressed with our viewers. You guys are doing a great job. Give you guys about a minute and a half more to analyze this board. Caden has just moved his knight out. I think that's G4, right, Caden? Yeah, G4, right, Caden?
Yep. Okay. Yep, out to G4.
Mm-hmm.
So Aaron, while we're waiting, I'll share a little chess story of my own with you.
Sure.
When we were talking to the folks over at the National Capillary Council, the scout on that call had mentioned carrying around a bag of chess pieces and said,
Yes.
as long as you have a piece of paper and something to write with, you can make a chess board to play with, right? That you don't have to
Exactly
have an actual set with you. So years ago, a buddy of mine and I were on an extended backpacking trip where we had multiple rest days worked into our schedule. And we had a Sharpie with us, and we took out one of our thermarests and drew a board on the thermarest in Sharpie and collected rocks from the site and labeled those rocks with the pieces.
Now
And we
that's
spent
impressive.
hours upon hours on our rest days playing chess.
Playing chess with rocks and drawn in a Sharpie on a thermarest. The Sharpie doesn't affect the usefulness of a thermarest. Obviously, it's still fine.
Nope.
You just use the rocks. So how did you keep? I would have trouble, I think, remembering which piece was what. You didn't have trouble keeping track of the rocks and what they were?
It's been more than a few years since we did that, so I'd have to go back and check my journal and see if there were any notes on that. I don't know if maybe we labeled the rocks, let's say, B for black and W for
that
white.
Sharpie, sure, right, yeah.
The piece number, name on it as well.
Right.
But yeah, we hadn't thought to bring a set with us, and so we just made use of what we had.
Breaking news, Caden, we have another tie.
Dun.
Tie for our next move. Exactly. Did not see that coming. We're going to need some tiebreaker votes, folks. Maybe if I could get some clarification from our behind the scenes folks real quick. Are they allowed to vote an extra time if there's a tie? If they've already voted once and there's a tie, can they vote again And the answer to that is yes. Thank you very much, Gina. So if you already voted once, we have a tie. Of course, if everybody votes for the exact same move again, so just think about what you might want to do here the next time. If you're watching and you didn't vote, now's your opportunity to have a real impact on this game by breaking our tie. As our behind-the-scenes human calculators work on that, Erica mentioned backpacking, playing chess on a backpacking trip. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that at the Scout Shop, you can visit scoutshop.org. They sell a 5-in-1, I think it's a 5-in-1 game set: chess, checkers, backgammon, Chinese checkers, I think, and maybe one other game, perfect for backpacking. Our friends at the Scout Shop would be, I think I'm crazy if I didn't mention that, talking about backpacking on a chess trip, on a backpacking trip, I mean, or backpacking on a chess trip. I guess you could look at it that way too. It's really a trip made for chess that you just happen to go backpacking on, or chess on a backpacking trip. Waiting to break the tie. A lot of people chiming in with their votes. Yeah, Eric, would you consider that trip a chess trip that you just happened to go backpacking on, or was it a backpacking trip that you happened to play chess on? That's what we need to know.
The latter. Definitely a backpacking trip that we played chess on.
Gotcha. Okay, we have our next move. Okay, Eric has just made our move. Knight to c4, taking Caden's pawn. It's now Caden's turn, and we'll let him think about it.
Going for the more exciting approach right now.
Okay. Caden has made his move, folks. He brought his pawn out there to b5, I believe, right, Caden?
Yep, to b5.
Yes, pawn out to b5. He says he's going for the more exciting approach, folks. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm excited to find out. We will see how it plays here. Guys have a couple of minutes to make your move. I'm excited. Even if this isn't the exciting approach, I still think it's kind of cool. You guys are doing great. Again, I'm impressed with the strategy discussion going on in the comments. People voting.
Yeah, see, this is a tough position because it's one where I admit I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of moves I'm thinking about, but a lot I don't want to give away about what I'm thinking about. So
okay,
just gotta see what they come up with here.
It's impressive how far ahead Caden is thinking. I just want to point out a kind of a funny comment here. Gina, behind the scenes, asked our viewers, do you all think we have a chance against Grandmaster Caden? And Erica kind of quickly responded with a simple no. Maybe adjust the attitude a little bit, Erica. Let's try to think a little more positive about this. Okay, we might have a chance. You never know. I'm kidding, of course. Erica may be right. We shall see. Sometimes I think in the wild, predators toy with their food before devouring it. Maybe that's what's happening here, but maybe not. I don't know. We're going to have to find out. Susan She says we have a fair shot. Thank you, Susan. Thank you for the positive attitude. That's what we need.
Yeah, the fun reality of chess is, and something I always have to keep in mind, is all it takes is one really bad move and the game, maybe not technically, but figuratively could be over. So you always want to be looking for every opportunity, and just
Mm-hmm.
because someone's good doesn't mean they're not gonna make a big mistake.
I want to clarify real quick. I made a mistake. I always forget that some young folks post under their parents' account, and it was Caden posting under his mom's account who said no. I'm sure Caden's mom probably thinks we do have a chance. Caden is not so sure about that. But Caden does think that he knows what you're going to do next. So that's interesting. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and I'll say that I agree with our grandmaster, Caden. Sometimes when I play with my kids, I don't put the effort in because I think, oh, I'm more experienced than they are. I can play fast and loose. And then the next thing you know, I make one of those mistakes, and then the whole game changes and it's downhill from there. So yeah, I think you've
Yeah.
always got to be on your toes regardless of who your opponent is.
Yeah, totally. I've played Eric's son and my son are around the same age, and I've had that same experience playing with my son. And I noticed as he got older, I mean, he's better than I am now. Probably, I don't want to mess with him anymore. He makes it look too easy when he beats me now. All right, folks, just a few more seconds. Commenting to vote for our next move against Grandmaster Caden. Not the Caden who's watching, who we appreciate, by the way. Caden's been here all week, the viewing Caden, talking about the chess player Caden. Caden's been contributing a lot in the comments, by the way. Caden. Other Caden has been contributing. So who's the best Caden chess player today? I mean, who knows? It's still kind of up for grabs. We'll have to see.
All comes down to this game right here.
Yes, that's exactly right. Behind the scenes, Brian has chimed in with a good question for you, Caden, which I will ask here in just a minute after we get this next move. Thank you, Brian. Excellent question. A few more seconds, guys, before we have to make our move. Okay, we have made our move, knight to b5. As you just see, that white knight went up there to b5. It is now Caden's turn. We'll give him as much time as he needs. Think about it. But 2 minutes, really.
No, I appreciate the unlimited 2 minutes that I have.
Absolutely. All right. Caden has made his move, folks. Looks like to me, the very, very amateur, he's getting his guys in position. I'm afraid he's about ready to attack, but that's just the pessimist in me. We'll have to wait and see. Shout out to KL, who is watching. KL was on earlier this week as a guest, and he is now watching. KL has played some chess. He's a scout, a life scout, I believe is what we said. And he is leading some good discussion in the comments about strategy. He comments so many options looking at it. He's suggesting some moves. I'm not going to say what they are. Don't want to give Caden any undue advantage, unfair advantage. While we wait for our folks to make a move, Caden, we kind of touched on this briefly yesterday, but I'm just curious. Where do we see Caden Trough in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? What do we think?
It's a good question. I think the one thing I know for sure is chess will continue to be a part of my life. That's basically since I was, nearly since I was born. But I guess as far as the next, several years, where do I see myself? I'm someone that always wants to keep myself open to opportunities. And, there are some opportunities people ask me about that I kind of have that first initial feeling. I don't know if I'm that interested, but I always try to hear it out and kind of like in chess, make that educated decision, see the possibilities and really try to think about it. So where do I see myself? To be honest, I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep myself open to the possibilities that might come up and, just continue trying to enjoy life.
I was just going to say, spoken like a true chess player, it sounds like, yeah. And that is one of the cool things about chess, is how it is kind of life skills, right? Kind of like scouting. You learn about thinking about things, being prepared, trying to come up with your next move, keeping your options open. Lots of ways you can apply chess skills to life skills and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few more seconds, guys, voting on our next move. Eric, I feel like we've moved definitely into the middle game. Your thoughts, sir?
I definitely agree. This is middle game for sure.
Yep.
There's
right.
so many pieces that are threatening other pieces. It's you've got to make that best decision, right? Which one's going to sacrifice, or which one are you going to take, knowing that it might get taken back. I think we're at one of those pivotal points here. I mean, look at those two queens facing each other across the open board. What's going to happen there? It'll be exciting to see.
For sure. Our viewer, Caden, not grandmaster Caden, but our viewer, Caden, when I asked you about your future, Caden, the viewer, Caden, says he thinks you'll be playing chess in space someday. Maybe an astronaut or something like that up there playing chess. Maybe at the International Space Station. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Good thought,
I
Caden. Good
don't know
thought.
if I've thought too much about going, out to space myself, but the idea of being one of those few people that's playing chess out there, that'd be a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Looks like we have our move. We just moved our pawn to A3. Not sure if you saw that coming or not, Caden, but that is our move. Caden is now on the clock.
I will admit that I can't say I've seen everything of okay, you can never see everything, but my goal, I think, in a large part was just to keep it complicated. At this point you have the queens, as Eric was saying, facing each other. There's some hanging pieces in the position. This is what I wanted. I don't know if it was necessarily the best strategy, but it keeps the game fun. And
for sure,
no matter how it goes from this point, just to have some craziness in the game is a lot better than just a slow, game that leads to some result.
So going with the sports metaphor, maybe similar to like a real high scoring back and forth game might be more fun to watch than a real low scoring plotting game. Avid fans probably like them both, but certainly to maybe casual viewers, right? This definitely seems like a Kate just chimes in with a funny comment that you're like a cat playing with a baby mouse. Kate may be right about that. Definitely makes this exciting. There's still lots of options, guys. We have lots of options here. You guys are doing great. And again, I know I said it a few times. Good job by our viewers chiming in with their votes. I think people are enjoying this. I'm definitely enjoying it. Just another minute or so to vote, guys, for our next turn.
I have to say that I am thoroughly impressed with our viewers.
Yeah.
I was afraid that it might just be a trouncing, that Caden would walk all over us, but this has been an excellent game.
I do wonder if Caden could have ended it sooner if he had wanted to. Don't tell us yet, but I like the way it's gone so far. Like he said, it's been entertaining for sure. And I'm mainly impressed by the enthusiasm of our viewers. Go ahead, Caden.
Yeah, no, I know you said not to tell you yet, but I will be upfront on that. You know, some people play me and I think they expect, you know, the 2-3 moves, you know, without knowing much about chess. But
Right.
I don't like going for the cheap tricks too much. I don't like going for the 4-move checkmate. I try to play good. So yeah, I've just been trying to play a good game and feel like so far they've been doing pretty well, seeing a lot of what I'm going for, which is key.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool. Any second now, we'll have another move. I think it's coming in right now. I have to say, Eric, when we make our move, when you and I stop talking and Caden really gets to concentrating, I feel a little bit intimidated. Like when you see that look in his eye, like he's really thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's gonna.
You should be.
Yeah, there's I've never thought too much about how my face is when I'm thinking. But there's this one photo years ago. I was playing in the US Championship and it was the last round, really intense game, really important game. And someone managed to get a photograph of me just staring down my opponent, giving him what I honestly just think is like if I had a death look, this was the death look that I was giving my opponent. And
Well, it'll be
hard
interesting to
to
see
resist.
what kind of look Caden gives us now. We've just made our move, Queen to G4. Seems kind of aggressive, Eric. See, look at him, Eric. Look, there's the look I'm talking about right there.
The wheels are spinning.
Uh-huh. All right, well, guys, that was an aggressive move. Let's see how Caden counters.
You know what I really want, Aaron, and we can't have it because you and Caden are together on the channel here, but I would love for the game to be going on and you to be separate where Caden couldn't hear you talk and be commentating like you see during football or basketball or baseball or anything else, right? Oh, that was a great move that just happened there. What's going to happen next? He's set up to take 2 different pieces. You know, that's what I would love to hear.
I think that you just came up with a great idea for Chess Fest 2, Eric.
All right.
Hopefully Caden will join us again if he's not too mad at us.
I mean, it's been a great experience so far. So
Good.
I don't know. Maybe if I end up losing, then that's
right.
it.
Caden has just made, speaking of aggressive, seems like a pretty aggressive move to me. Down to the F1. I'm sorry. Yeah, F1. Yeah, I said that right. Yeah, F1. Our turn. This is getting big time right here. Gina is having. We'll see, Gina. We'll see how this goes here. All right.
Yeah, some may say that our queen taking his knight might not have been the best move because we gave up the rook. And since I've always played, I've always thought of the rook as a more powerful piece than the knight. So I don't know that if that had been my move, that's what I would have done. But I'm curious to see where it goes from here.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting strategy. It seems aggressive, which is good. That's fun. It's good. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing
Our move
I
is
will
in.
say.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
go
in.
ahead, kid. Our move is in.
But yeah, once you get I mean, you can see from this game, once you get out of the opening, how quickly the middle game just really starts to heat up, and it's a good thing to keep an eye out for if you're trying to figure out what's the middle game and what's the opening. Craziness
Yeah,
is
this
usually
has been an action-packed middle game. Very exciting to watch. We just moved our king over one spot and took a piece from Caden. Obviously, Eric, Caden knew that was going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see, what his plan is next.
But I like too that as the game has developed, we've been trading pieces very evenly. We are one piece up on Caden right now, but it's his move. So we'll see where that goes.
Okay, that's good. That's a good tidbit there. We are currently one piece up on Caden. Okay. Now, you guys might notice the little red circle there around our king. I believe that means we're in check. Eric, can you confirm that?
You are correct.
Okay. So
and
Caden,
if you remember, Caden talked about CPR, right?
He did, yes.
Now, if I can try to remember what they are, I know what they are, but what's
that's a real test. You remembered CPR, but can you remember what it stands for?
Yeah, C was capture, to take the piece that's threatening you.
Right.
P was protect, put something in between the piece that's threatening you. And then R was run, get out of there. So
well, at least somebody was listening, Caden, see? Very good, Eric, very good. All right, we are in check, guys, so that means we're limited to what we can do. Now, just keep that in mind when you're commenting on your vote. We have got to get our king to safety. As Eric said, we can try to protect it, we can try to capture one of his pieces, or we can just run away. If you ask Eric what I would do, maybe run away.
I see there's only two options, unless I'm missing something.
Okay, let's see what our viewers think. I think you're right. Yeah, yep, I think you're right, Eric. As I look at it, Caden is smiling slyly. I think there are two options.
I'm just grateful that capture is not one of the options since my queen is doing the checking.
Right, yes, exactly, yep. I think you're right, folks. I think Eric has pointed out we have two options here. So keep that in mind as you're voting. Obviously, you can vote for any move you want, but the game will not let us move illegally, obviously for good reason. So keep that in mind. To quote Dr. Strange, I think we're in the end game now. There's our move. Right there, we have moved queen to e2 to block the potential check or block the check. Caden's got some options here. Things are getting interesting. Yeah, I kind of thought that's what he would do. It is our turn. But Eric, do we have options here?
Yes, there are, again, two options.
Okay. All right, folks.
I don't think it gives away anything to the audience just to say the options are take his queen or move the king out of check.
Right.
And really, there's only one option there.
I was going to say there are two options, but really maybe there's only one option. Now, just one thing to think of. Every time Caden makes a move, he probably knows what we're going to do. So just think about that, folks, as you are making your move. Hey, Caden, I do have a question for you. When you play a game against, a fairly even matched opponent, how long does it last? Not in terms of minutes or hours, but in terms of moves. How long is a typical game for you?
Oh, I'd say around 40 moves is fairly normal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at a high level game. I would say it's rare, like very rare, that the game ends before 20 moves.
Mm-hmm.
It's still somewhat rare that the game ends before 30, which is interesting because it's like it doesn't happen often. Like it's not just that 40 moves is the average. It's like I would say by far the average, kind of around that range for me.
Okay.
You just have
And-
good hard-fought games.
And to clarify, when you say 40 moves, that includes one move for each team, or is that literally?
Yep.
Okay. So not
Yep,
20
so one
moves for
for
each
white,
team.
one
It's
for
actually
black. That's
Gotcha.
typically what we mean when we say move.
Gotcha. Well, I think we're in the end game now, folks. We are starting to be limited in what we can do here. As Eric said, we have a couple of options, but really just one option, and there it was. King to e2. Agreed. That was our option. Interesting development. Queens are gone. The board is really opened up now. And Caden just made his move.
Yeah.
It's our turn again.
That one was a bit easier to plan for because I don't need to think too much about them not taking my queen. I can figure out what to do up a queen without, thinking beforehand. So thinking about, while we're talking and just after my move, okay, what are they going to do?
Right.
They're going to take my queen. What am I going to do?
As we suspected, he already had that planned out, guys. What will he do next? Now, I don't know. Now we've got a few more options here, Eric. We're not under immediate threat right now, so we can choose to be offensive or defensive, I think, right? Any thoughts from you, Eric?
So, when I asked Caden earlier about playing somebody he doesn't know and if he plays offensively or defensively, I find that for myself, I tend to play more defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I look at what my opponent's doing and react to that. And that might be a weakness of mine that, perhaps I need to play more aggressively or offensively. But my immediate thought when I saw his rook come over was, what do I need to do to protect or get my knight out of there? Mm-hmm. Right? That's the first thing that pops into my mind. Now, I'm not saying in this situation it's the case, but sometimes when your piece is threatened like that, there might be a different move that leaves that piece threatened, but you're moving a different piece to make an attack on his side. So again, you've got to look at all the different options available to you.
That's part of what makes chess so fun. Looking at all the different options, trying to predict what your opponent will do.
Well, and I think too.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I always seem to be hesitant to lose pieces, right? So when my piece is threatened, I look to find a way to protect it or move it. And I don't always consider sacrificing a piece in order to get a better position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just one thing that I've, I guess, realized the more I study chess is that honestly fascinates me is you kind of learn all these rules, these tips, these ideas, and it can be something as simple as your opponent threatens a piece, protect the piece. What usually separates, I'd say, the good players from the great players is understanding when maybe some of those rules don't apply, when you need to break the rules a little bit. And you especially see that with some of the world champions. of course, they understood the fundamentals better than anyone, but they also understood when it was time to break some of those rules because of this particular position that they had. And something that, okay, you don't want to go looking to break rules, but you have to take everything into consideration and not get so caught up in one aspect of the position.
So Eric knows me. Going back to the sports metaphor, Eric, I think it's like going for it on fourth down. The safe move might be to punt or kick a field goal. Sometimes you got to go for it.
That's right.
KL weighing in the comments with a lot of good suggestions, guys. We know KL. He's a player. He's got some good thoughts in there. You guys are doing great. We have our next move, I believe. Yep, and there it goes. We just moved our pawn up. A lot of interesting discussion. I get a kick out of reading the comments of people discussing what we should do, predicting what Caden will do. I was going to say, okay, let's be quiet for Caden to make his move, but he just made his move. Eric, it makes me nervous when he goes that fast. I just feel like we're playing right into his hands. It's okay. What are you going to do? It's our turn again, guys.
Well, I go ahead, Caden.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think when you get to this point in the game, you have about half the pieces you started with. And so I think it's easier for him to see what the next move logically is going to be, right? You don't have as many options necessarily because you don't have 16 pieces on the board.
Yeah, see, this is why I let you go first, because you say things very well. Yeah, you're starting to hit a point. I said earlier that often I'm not thinking that far ahead. It's just those next few moves. We've hit a position where a couple of things have happened. One is what Eric just said, less pieces on the board. The other is there are some very specific threats, right? I was just threatening their knight. They protected it. Before that, I took their queen. They took back. Like, these moves as well are a bit more forcing. They demand a bit more attention. And so it's easier to anticipate what the possibilities are.
KL points out in the comments, we just heard Caden say a second ago that very rare for a game to end after 20 moves. I'm proud to announce we have made it past the 20 move mark in this game, guys. Good job, everybody. We have made it past the 20 move mark. I consider that kind of cool. A few more seconds left till we got to move, guys.
I once played a bunch of friends, and they had a bit of a competition to see who could last the longest against me. And I'll say in those games, the longest was 22 moves.
Okay.
So they make it at least, which I absolutely think they are, at least 2 more moves. They're
22
beating my friends out.
Okay, there you go.
Their
There you go.
competition.
Well, again, I'm glad I'm not tabulating the comments, because as I scroll through the different pages that we're on, we're still getting a good variety of votes, people voting for a few different moves. Again, a special shout out to Gina and Kate for counting these up on the fly. You guys are doing great. Our viewers are doing great. Caden's doing pretty good. He's doing pretty good too. I think this has been good.
Yeah, and
right.
That's reaching that milestone there of the 22 moves. That's one of those things, because we're playing with a committee, so to speak, right? We don't know necessarily how many people are voting. That could go either way. It could go horribly wrong because you've got too many cooks in the kitchen and no one can make a decision. Or you have that hive mind where if you were just playing one person, they may only see a particular possibility, where now you have many people that see multiple possibilities.
Yeah.
Thank goodness Gina and Kate are sorting through those.
Yeah, and
exactly.
I think that's what's good about people putting some of their thoughts, talking strategy. If you just put a move, then, I know for myself, someone just says a move without a reason. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I see what you're going for. Sometimes it's like, huh? Like, that's not what I was thinking. So when you're making the move as a group, having that discussion. So hopefully people are learning, as you're going, figuring
Right.
things out is great.
So Aaron, maybe next year, the opening session of Chess Fest is doing a analysis of this game and having Kading back on and going through step by
Okay.
step. Why did you
Recap
move
what
here?
happened.
Why do you think your opponent moved there, etc.?
Breaking news real quick, folks. We have another tie in the voting. Once again, we're going to need everybody get back in the comments, vote again. You might have already voted once. We appreciate it. Need you to vote one more time to break that tie. Again, lots of folks talking strategy in the comments, so think about the different strategies. Maybe there's a different move in there from what you originally voted for. Hop back in the comments and let's break this tie. I'll give you another 30 seconds or so. Let's see. Get this tie broken. Looks like we might have one coming in, guys. Any second now. I'm being informed that this is a big time tie. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. Okay, Eric, you've got the move. We will see it unfold on the screen in real time. We have moved our knight to d4, the white knight to d4. Kind of maybe, Eric, a defensive strategy move. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your move would have been. I was also looking at that knight. I was thinking, though, instead of d4, c7.
Okay.
So from here, this square.
Yep.
But I see what they're doing, bringing it back to the center so that you have some more options on what to do with it.
Okay. We have yet another significant move by our opponent, guys. We are in check again. Okay, Eric, let's talk the audience through this. Obviously, when you're in check, the only thing you can do is make a move to get out of check. What are our options here?
Right. So our CPR, right?
Yes.
Capture. I don't see any piece that can capture that rook.
Right.
P, protect. We could bring the knight down here.
There you go.
Right. We could bring the bishop over here.
And
that's it. And then R run, our king, could move to any of these white squares or the dark one down here too, to get away from the threat of the rook.
Yep. If we move the knight down, probably going to end up sacrificing him, I think. We don't know what Caden's thinking for sure. And
correct.
We have to see what it's up to. That's why the viewers, this is why you guys are here. Make these tough decisions. Let's get those votes in.
I will say about you never know what I'm thinking. If you give me an opportunity to take something, you can assume that my main thought is taking it.
Can we use that against him, guys? That's the key for us. Okay, let's see if we can flip that. Use that against him. I don't think we can, but we'll try. It's okay.
No, but I see a way of not necessarily giving up a piece, right? There is an option there.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to share that or not.
I think you share it, Eric. Yes.
All right. So I'll agree with you. If you bring the knight down, he'll take the knight, and there's nothing to get that. If you
Yes.
bring the bishop down and he decides to come and take it, we'll take that piece back. And in
Right.
my book, that would be a better trade for us. We're getting
That's
a
a
better
win for
piece.
us, right? Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. Yep. Yep.
Now here's the other thing I see is if you move the king to d3, it's out of check and it's protecting the knight from this bishop right here that could come down and take it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also protecting this bishop because it's right next to it. There's no threat to that bishop currently, but let's see. Our move
The
is
important
in.
thing is, yeah, the important thing is not what we think, Eric. It's what our viewers think, and the viewers have spoken. King to d3, which, as you mentioned, a solid strategy, I think. As you mentioned, we've got protection now for that knight right on top of him. The question is, again, now, Caden, is he going to make, is he willing to make a sacrifice, take that knight? He does have that option should he choose to use it. Let's give Caden a chance to think real quick. All right, Eric?
All right.
Okay. This is extremely exciting. Caden has
He
made
did
his
say
move.
if you give him a chance to take a piece, he'll take it.
He did say that indeed. This is fun. I'm having fun watching. I hope you guys are having fun playing. This is great. Guys, this is critical time. This is crunch time. I love my sports metaphors. We're in like the last few minutes of a basketball game here where it's a close game and it's going to come down to who makes the most free throws, who makes the most clutch shots. I love how I think Caden has made this a fun and exciting game because the board is is open the right word. There's lots of options and a few different directions we can go here. I feel like our king, Eric, is in decent shape. Notice how both kings are kind of protected, right? Am I seeing that right?
To an extent, I would say. And, the move that Caden made was my initial thought. If I was in his position, what would I do next? And that seems like pretty easy to take that pawn, and he could potentially take the one right next to it as well. But I was also looking at this rook up here. If he were to slide that over, right, then he's threatening that knight two different ways. And once that knight's gone, there's potential to take the king, although we also have the bishop backing that up. So
right.
It'll be interesting to see what our team, how they respond to that. And then, are they going to move him out of the way to, hold on a little bit longer?
Yep.
Or are they going to be more aggressive, maybe slide this guy over here? So if he does take it, they come up and take that piece back. Maybe it's something else. To wait and see.
It's actually a really good point, Eric. I was thinking about two moves, and I mean, one, but the other move is the one you pointed out, sliding my rook over to d8, just trying to apply a bit more pressure there. When it came down to it, I decided to be greedy, but I do like keeping that pressure, especially when you have your king in the middle like that, bringing my rook over so to not only pressure the knight, but pressure the king a bit. Still something I'm thinking about.
Well, like you said, Eric, he told us just a second ago, if you give him the option to take a piece, he's probably going to take it. So we'll see how it goes from here.
And the other thing, right, this is something that I find myself getting tripped up by when I play. This bishop of his is kind of sneaky here, right? He's sitting in amongst all these pawns, and you kind of don't even pay attention to him. You just think, oh, there's another pawn over there. And he's been there for a while. So, at any time, that bishop could just come out and do some damage when you're trying to focus more on the two rooks.
Right. Get those votes in, folks. We are in the really exciting part of this game now. We have our move. It would appear we are going, this was one of the options, I believe. Well, this is not exactly the option Eric had mentioned, but rook to c1, moving him into kind of a defensive position. Let's let Caden think about his next move. And there's the move Eric mentioned earlier. Moving that piece out, kind of opening him up a little bit more to attack our knight down there, right, Eric?
Right. And see that our move, rook to c3, that's one of those moves where when I see that, I'm thinking, is that a bad move? Did somebody make a bad choice? Or is that a great choice that's beyond my skill level of thinking, right? Like, are they looking multiple moves ahead and they see something I don't?
Well, we know Caden is looking multiple moves ahead. He has moved his rook out to d8, which kind of for the first time all game brings that out into the open. Like you said, he already had the sneaky bishop over there hanging out, just waiting to pounce. Now the rook can pounce too. It'll be interesting to see. Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, we've got that knight protected by two pieces.
Right. Yes, it'll be interesting to see how our viewers will play this. Do we try to get aggressive and move in position to attack him in the top right corner there? Or do we continue to kind of try to protect our little cluster of pieces there? This is why we need you guys to comment, all right? This is not for me to decide. It's not for Eric to decide, okay?
Yeah,
for Kate or Gina to decide.
The problem with something like this is that knight is now stuck, right? We can't move it out anywhere to attack because we would be putting our king in check. So that's
a great point, Eric.
As long as his rook is up above, this one's going nowhere.
Great point there. Yes, keep that in mind, folks, as you vote for your moves. The computer won't let us make that illegal move, but you could still technically vote for it. So Eric makes a great point there of something we would not be allowed to do that, to move that knight anywhere, right, Eric? He has to stay right there, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, totally.
You cannot move a piece that would put your king into check. Much like Caden was talking yesterday about castling, how you can't castle into, out of, or through check. It's very similar.
We are coming down to the wire here, folks, in our match against the Eagle Scout and Grandmaster Caden. We have another tie. The voting is just so intense right now, people. We have another tie. So get back in there, vote again, peruse through the comments. You'll see some folks are making some suggestions. Think about your first vote. Maybe you stick with it, maybe you don't. We do have another. Gina did not say this is a big time tie. She just said tie. So that's not to be confused with a big time tie like we had last time.
But she did say it.
Yes, she did. So let's give everybody 30 or so seconds to work out this tie. Our viewers have done a great job of working out these stalemates, if you will, before. I'm sure they'll do it again. Let's give them 30 seconds or so. See what they come up with. This will give Caden a chance also to look ahead, as he is known to do, the sneaky guy, and try to figure out what we're going to do next.
Yeah, all these tie breaks are giving me plenty of time to think and anticipate.
Bonus time, exactly. Okay, the move is in. Okay, that's our pawn to c4. Seems like a pretty safe move on our side. Let's see how Caden counters this one. Okay, Caden has countered by moving his pawn up one spot as well. That opens up that bishop, Eric, a little bit more. I mean, I guess it doesn't really affect how he can move, but it starts to open up that area a little bit.
Yeah.
He's also put, no, go ahead. I'm sorry, Eric.
I was just saying, yes, I'm agreeing with you. It did open it up a little there.
And he's also put our pawn that's currently sitting in f4 in a bit of danger right there. Of course, his pawn itself, if I'm not mistaken, we could, oh, no, he's not, he's safe. I'm sorry, I'm wrong about that. We got to decide what we're going to do. Is it worth it to try for us to protect our white pawn, which is currently in f4, or take his pawn? Yep. We've got options. Again, I'm glad I'm not making these decisions. I'm thankful that we have viewers who are smarter than I am.
But I like hearing your thoughts, Aaron, because it helps give me some insight into what they're thinking potentially here. Some of the back and forth. That's hey, if nothing else, the tie breaks as well. That's insight as to how much thinking and the little bit of difference of opinion, and not just a little bit, but a lot of people siding one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good. That's what chess is about.
Yeah, so again, if you're looking at the immediate threat, right, you could say move that pawn and take his, but then he could come up with the rook and take that pawn back, in which case our bishop could come up and take his rook. Or we could take his pawn with ours, and he could possibly slide over here and take that pawn. Those are just a couple of things, right off the top of the bat, not even looking at what's going on up here or over here.
Eric, you're giving me too much to think about. I can't handle it.
Well, and again, that's focusing right here, right? That's not thinking.
Which is exactly what he wants us to do. All right, we're getting lots of votes here, folks.
And you might consider too, let's say that exchange went down. We took his pawn, he takes our rook, we take his rook, he takes our pawn, we take his rook. Now with this guy up here, his rook could come down here, not be protected. We could still take him with the king. I don't know. Oh, do we have? Yep, we got our next move in.
We've got our next move, and it is one of the ones we discussed.
E, D, E, F, G. Next to G5. G5. All right.
Yep. So that is one of the possibilities we discussed. And if we discussed it, Eric, Caden also had it in his mind as a possibility.
Of course.
Let's see what he comes up with to counter. It didn't take him long. He has made his move. Very interesting. Okay, it takes me a second to kind of figure out what just happened. He's moved his bishop in there for the first time all game, right? Out of the spot right there. He's taken our knight. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, obviously, his bishop is in danger.
Yep.
Although we can't move our, we can't make that move because that would leave us in check. But we could take it with our bishop. Right, exactly.
So then the other thing to think about is if we leave it alone, our king is still safe for the time being. The bishop isn't going to take our king,
right?
And it's blocking the rook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although you have to assume that he's going to then on the next move take the bishop and put us in check simultaneously.
Right. So that's my question for you, Eric. If he moves that bishop next, where can he move it to expose our king to check and also possibly keep us from moving anywhere else out of check? You know what I'm saying? Is that possible?
No, because it's on a dark square and we're on a light, so we would have to move into it. But he could also do this, right? And then he's threatening our rook and putting us in check. Although the king could move down here, we would still probably lose the rook, but take his bishop back. Oh no, we couldn't move here because he's got that position.
Yes.
Covered.
I feel like he's got us surrounded. Okay, but I'm not going to panic yet. I'm not going to panic. I feel like our viewers can find a way out of this. Again, we can't take his bishop with our king. We could take it with our bishop. Right.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, and that's seeing that play out with his bishop coming down here to threaten our rook and having this covered so that the king can't protect it makes me think that that's probably a good move. Oh, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think that's what I would have done too. That's bishop to d4. We took Kane's bishop. How will the grandmaster respond? Let's find out. Again, it makes me nervous when he goes that quickly, Eric, because I feel like we played right into his hands. He knew that was going to happen.
Well, so here's the problem, right? He can take our bishop with either of his rooks, and we can't take his rook back because it's going to be backed up by the other one, which means that he's got to run, and we can't get the bishop out of the way because we'll be in check. So our bishop is going down. It's just a matter of what happens after that.
Yeah, we're going to lose our poor bishop there. I think you're right. So the question is, where do we almost have to move our king somewhere, I think. To get him to safety. Let's see what the viewers say. There's a reason why the viewers are voting and not me. Let's see what they think.
Yeah, so just to jump in on this moment, back when I played rook to d8, this was kind of my, or at least one of the things I was thinking about this position here. When they played rook to c1, supporting that pawn, the only thing that really made sense about that is they are looking to push it. So once they moved their rook, looking to push that pawn, I brought my rook over to say, hey, yes, you can push your pawn, but that means I'm going to have now extra pressure on your knight. They did push that pawn, and pushing my pawn, letting them take all that just to say, well, you pushed that pawn, really trying to just go after that one in particular square, all going back to rook d8 a few moves ago.
That's fascinating. Very interesting to listen to him talk about, Eric, his strategy like that. He knows this game a little bit better than we do, I think. It's very interesting to see.
Just a touch.
And when you say, Caden, I'm sorry, Eric, real quick, Caden, when you say the term push the pawn, you mean just moving the pawn up like that? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The pawns can be underestimated quite often.
Okay, speaking of
But
pushing pawns real quick, it looks like we have one here. Sorry, Caden, to interrupt you. We just moved our pawn up here, it looks like, yep. When you're done with this move, Caden, I want to hear what you were going to say about pawns. Don't forget. Okay. Again, folks watching at home, we are in check. He has moved his rook, taken our bishop, and left us in check. We now have no option but to get out of check. We've got a few options to get out of check, but I'm saying that has to be the focus of this next move. As you guys vote, the focus of this next move has got to be to get us out of check. Kate, real quick, what you were saying about pawns. People tend to think of them maybe as not being that important.
Well, yeah, I mean, they can be underestimated, but the big thing about pawns that a lot of people get excited about, I get excited about, you get them to the other side, you can get a queen, you promote them. So when it comes to pushing pawns, sometimes that can just be, just moving it forward one. This one, I can't speak for those voting, but that's what it felt like. You put that rook behind the pawn. That's what they're aiming for. Run it up the board, get it going, try and get a queen. And definitely something I had to take in consideration. And why I wanted to explain some of my thinking there is I see what they're doing, and that's what chess is, that back and forth. This is what they seem to be going for. How can I anticipate it?
So quick question for you then, Caden. In games that you play, matches against, not just your buddies, but legitimate real opponents. Well, not that our audience is a legitimate opponent. Of course they are. But in, the matches you play against tough opponents, other grandmasters, whatever, how often does that happen? How often does a pawn get promoted all the way up and into a queen?
I'd say it's semi-rare because a pawn, its material value is 1. A queen, its material value is 9. 1 versus 9, huge difference, game changing. So any chance that your opponent's gonna get another queen, you keep a very close eye on it. So it definitely still happens, but a lot of times it just doesn't, because you're trying to prevent it the best you can.
Right. There was our move, folks. King to c3.
Okay. So this is actually just to explain what I'm about to do. I could have taken the bishop with either rook.
Right.
But the reason I took with the rook I did is exactly because of this. Instead of wanting that extra power on the file up and down, I want it on the rank. And so I'm going to go ahead and use that to take here on c4.
We are again in check. Just so you guys know, I think that may be the 4th time this game. But I think, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, we have options still.
I thought you were going to say we're in deep trouble.
Well, I think that goes without saying. But we do still have options to stay alive.
The options are that the game's going to be over in about, 2-3 moves?
We'll see. You know what? I believe in miracles, so we'll see how it goes. You never know how these things go.
So we've got to get right.
Yep.
There's no C and there's no B. There's only R. So that means one of these 2 positions right here.
Yep.
And let's say we move over here. Well,
now, could we not move him to the right?
If we move to this one, he's going to come down here and take this rook most likely. If we move down here, then he's probably going to drop this piece down and slowly just work his way down onto, on top of us, trapping us in this bottom row.
Until we're cornered.
Yep. Oh yeah, Gina just wants to remind everybody that Caden is one of the best in the world. So we're doing outstanding.
Really,
even
absolutely.
In space. All right, here we go.
Right.
K to B2.
K to B2, yeah. I think that was the move that I would have made as well. Let's see how Caden responds. Will it take him 2 seconds or 5 seconds? It took him closer to 5 this time. We are again in check. And this is the part of the battle where the losing army is just running for its life, I think, Eric. We are just in a massive all-out sprint to try to get somewhere safely.
That's right.
We've still got some options. You guys playing along are doing great. I'm sure you know what they are. They're a little bit limited now. As just a reminder, Caden the Grandmaster closes in here in the end game.
Yeah, one thing about this position that you don't always get to see very often, because the rooks start off in the corner. Really, the hardest pieces to get out, to get active, despite being one of the better pieces. But once they do get out, you can use them together. They can create a lot of good attacks. Really good coordination there. Getting all these checks that I am just because of that, because the rooks together are so good.
And for some reason, Eric, I feel like the rook is like my favorite piece. I don't know why I feel that way. What do you think, Eric? What's your favorite chess piece?
I think that's a good call because it's so powerful. It
Right.
can go across the board in 2 different directions.
Right.
You put it sort of second place behind the queen.
Yep, exactly.
And I don't know why, because you could say the bishops.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right? They can move the length of the board as well.
Right.
But I just feel like the rooks are stronger.
Agreed. Our viewers are still hanging in there. They have not given up. Unlike some of us have given up, the viewers have not given up. King to B1 is our latest move. This time it only took Caden about 3 seconds to move, maybe 2. You guys are going to be shocked to hear that we're in check again. Eric, at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, there's literally only one move we can make. I think behind the scenes, Gina and Kate, if you're okay with it, there's literally only one move for us to do right now. I think you might as well go ahead and make it, unless I'm missing something. Am I right, Eric?
No, that's it.
Yep. So that's the only move we can make. We just made it.
This whole rank is off limits.
Yep. Let's see what Caden does next. I had a feeling he might do that. And now begins the back and forth dance. Let's see what happens here.
It's gonna be just a quick back and forth here, because I take that pawn, forcing your king back, give you this check one more time. Very close to the same position, but now that pawn is gone. Your king's still stuck on the side, and okay, now I'll stop with the checking and take this pawn over here.
Now there is such a thing as a tie, everybody. We talked about that yesterday, how in some situations there could be a draw. I'm just saying, don't give up hope yet. Eric, what do we have? We have a little more options here for moves, right? So let's let our viewers vote again.
Yep.
Because now we have 2 different options that I see. Nope. Wait, do we have 2 different options?
There's more than 2.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Because we're not in check right now, so we've got a few different options. Yep. Okay. All right, guys.
But you notice how in the middle game I mentioned that we were even. We had traded equal number of pieces, and now we're 3 pieces to 7 pieces. Caden's been
turned around fast.
Just shipping us away.
Yep. We are definitely in the end game now, but hey, we have some options. So let's see what our viewers come up with. as we try to stay out of checkmate desperately by the hair of our chinny chin chin, try to stay out of checkmate.
Yeah.
Again, I just want to say, I'm sorry, Eric, real quick. Shout out to our viewers. They're not giving up. They are still showing some fight. Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, one of the problems now is that we don't have enough pieces to take care of the P portion, protect. Right? I mean, he's got those four pawns are going to move slowly, but they're still going to be able to move and put pressure on us.
We are thinned out a little bit. You are correct on that. Looking at our viewers, we've got some folks who are just joining us still. Now's the time, guys. If you haven't contributed yet, now's the time. We need you. Okay, we've got our move. And my, how the turntables have turned. Caden, the grandmaster, is in check. He will have to get his king to safety, which he did. He did that kind of fast, Eric. I'm a little disappointed.
Well, now I'm the one in check and the one with only one move, so.
Okay, nice job, guys. Hey, we're making this ending exciting. I like it. Good job, guys. The R rook to c8. That's a winning move. Ryan comments, I can't play chess. Ryan, you've come to the right place. We're here to learn. Hop in there, buddy. Give us your vote. What do you think we should do next? A lot of us, I can't play chess. Look at me. Seriously, come on, get in here.
So that move, the rook to c8.
We just had a commenter say, I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I just said that's probably the move that I would have done, but I also feel like it's just prolonging the end.
Well, we just had a comment from somebody. Okay, now they're starting to come in from a few different people. One commenter says, well, actually, now we are dead. Someone else says, he has it now no matter what our move. Guys, I don't think I like that attitude very much. This is not over yet. Okay, let's just keep up. Let's keep up the fight for a few more moves. Maybe we can make him work a little bit before he wins. But yeah,
now it's just a matter of
it's bleak, Eric.
Trying to get past that 40 move threshold. We're not there yet.
You think it's not going to happen? Well, let's see.
I think if they keep fighting, they can get there.
All right. See, Caden has a positive attitude. No matter what happens, our viewers have done a great job. And there's our move. Rook to c2.
That was actually the only move to stop my checkmate threat.
Okay. How about that, guys? Look at that. We just stopped his checkmate threat. How about that?
Still gonna give that check. But at least they have something to block it now.
Right, and now Eric will go ahead and make our next move because that was literally our only option there. Thank you, Eric. Now it's Caden's turn again. And it is now our turn. Eric once again made the only move he could make there. Caden moving his pawn into position.
Yeah,
and now we have options. Well, but at least we have options.
But look, he's just going to hang out here with his rook and lock this down so that we can't bring the king over, and the pawn can only move straight ahead. So it's just a matter of how many moves until he gets here and gets the queen, and then we're done for.
With that kind of attitude, Eric. Yeah, obviously we're done for with that kind of attitude.
That's not attitude. That's just being real.
Well, no matter how it turns out, we've done great so far, I think.
It's been a fantastic game.
It has been, and we do still need your votes. I'm glad to report that once again, though, our viewers have not given up. Unlike Eric, they are still fighting. Okay, we just went our move king to a3. How will Caden counter that? Moving his piece back into a keep that rook safe. I think I know what I would do here. But let's let the viewers decide. I'm not the boss, Eric. The viewers are the boss. Let's let them choose what they want to do.
Yeah, here in a position like this, for me, I get this. Well, I've gotten this in a lot of games. I wouldn't say I get it all the time, but just because of pure bulk of the amount of games, I've seen this quite a bit, or seen something similar, where whether it's I'm up the rook, my opponent's up the rook, the kind of annoying thing about being down a rook is this strategy right here, where someone just uses the rook, cuts the king off completely. A lot of times in the end game, the king can be a really actually powerful weapon. It's not as much in danger. It can still, it only moves one square, but that's one square in any direction. But having that rook just cut off the king, that's my goal here. That's why I moved it back, moved it to where pawn is protecting, because I just want to keep their king out of the way and push my pawn up the board.
Caden, we're getting some questions coming in. I'm sure completely unrelated to what's going on in this game. The questions are about resigning. Again, I'm sure it has nothing to do with the game right now, but just, curiosity. At what point is it appropriate for a player to resign? And that's a thing, right?
Yeah, and that's a really tough debate, because I think part of it also depends on kind of where you're at, your skill level, what you understand. For top players, in some games they can be down a pawn, 2 pawns, and resign, because they know at that high of level that that's enough, that the game's over.
Wow.
And sometimes they may not even be down material. They just understand the position, that they're in a terrible position. Their opponent's good enough that no matter what's going to happen, they're likely to lose. But I'd say, generally speaking, as you're getting into chess, just starting out, it can be a really good idea to play it out, because whether you're on the winning or losing side, you get to see how a game finishes. You're gaining that experience, and if it was a game you lost, maybe you can use some of your opponent's technique in the next game to then win. I just talked about it. Using this rook, I've had times my opponents have used that on me. I've used it on opponents. Just applying that, because now I'm in this position, I'm feeling good, but I still have to win it, right? It's not over, and that
Exactly.
just comes from a lot of games, playing them out, building that feel for what's the best way to do it.
Good stuff. Good tips. We moved our king to a4. Caden just moved his pawn up a notch. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like, we'd just love to take his rook with our king, but we can't do that, right?
That's right, because his pawn is backing it up. So
Right.
if we took his rook, that would put us in check.
We can't move that king up or to the side in this move, at least, because he would be put in check.
That's correct.
We are limited in our options, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. But the game is not over yet. As you heard Caden say, there is value in playing it out and see what we can learn here over the final few moves or so. Yeah, I like some of these votes that we're getting. We have our final vote. It just came in. You see it there on the screen, folks. King to a3, the overwhelming winner now. Caden continuing to move his pawn up. Eric, it looks to me like he's trying to advance that all the way to the end. And what is it called? Is it called promote it to a queen?
Correct.
We might be in trouble if we aren't already, if he does that. I don't see how we can stop him.
Yeah, one thing just to elaborate on from what I was saying earlier, at the highest level, sometimes even if they're down a pawn or 2 pawns, they resign. This is actually a big part of why. I mean, early in the game, 1 pawn, 2 pawns may not seem like a big deal, but the more pieces that come off, those pawns, they're not getting blocked by other pieces all the time. And so you have 1 or 2 extra, you start to run them down, you promote them into a queen, and it becomes very clear why just 1 or 2 pawns can be an absolute game changer.
Yeah, great point. Those pawns, now that the board is opened up, like you say, they can move a little bit freer. And you guys can see Caden's pawn cruising up the board relatively unchecked, so to speak. Again, very proud of our viewers, not giving up the fight. Good job, guys. We have our move in. Yeah, I'll see how he likes a little bit of his own medicine there. We'll move our pawn up. That's fine, sure. Caden with little to no hesitation, moving his pawn as well. And the vote is back in our hands. We've got folks predicting how long it will take you to checkmate us. Caden, Greg says 4 moves. Yeah, we'll see, Greg. We'll see about that. Bet we can stretch it to 5. We'll see.
Yeah, it looks like
all right.
They're trying to stretch it out by bringing that pawn down, likely going to give me a check here.
Right. The bad news is Caden just got a queen. The good news is, yeah, we could put his king in check in one more move here, that's got to be our next move, I think. Right, Eric? What do you think?
Well, I was thinking maybe bringing our king down so that his queen can't get underneath us. And once it does, then that's over. Again, it's just prolonging the inevitable.
That's what we're all about. Good question while we're waiting for our viewers. A good question here. Caden, when you advance the pawn all the way to the end like that, and it becomes a queen, could you, if you wanted to, say you already had your queen, could you name the piece you want, or is it always a queen?
Yeah, I mean, I could have gotten a rook, a knight, a bishop. You have that choice. You can't get a king, and you can't leave it a pawn. You have to turn it into something. It's very rare that people get anything besides a queen. There are cases where it's the best. I mean, you think particularly with a knight, a knight moves so unique that sometimes, even though a queen is really strong, because that knight is hitting squares the queen wouldn't, that's the better decision. Often it means putting your opponent in check.
Interesting. Okay. Good thoughts there. We just moved our pawn up h6, I believe that was. Caden just moved his king out of check.
Yeah, so this, now that we're coming up on the end, these types of positions, is really where some of that calculation, some of that thinking can start to come to life. Here, you might see it this next move. We'll see what they say. But when they threatened my rook, I could have moved my rook back, or I could have pushed the pawn, protecting it. I decided to move it back, and it's actually because of this position here. Because my rook's back, it actually clears up that diagonal for my queen to deliver the checkmate, either next to the rook or as Eric pointed out earlier, underneath the king.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Our options are limited, okay? But here at the BSA and Scout Life magazine, we don't give up. We're going to keep fighting. So let's see how it turns out. We've got probably a move or two left to make here. Eric, what do you think? What are our options here?
Well, it's either up or down. Either way, it doesn't make a difference.
Why don't we go ahead and make a move here, Eric, since our options are so limited. Oh, there we go. We do have a move in now. King to A2. We chose to go down. As Eric said, we can go up or down. I mean, yeah, you said up or down. We went down. Caden has just put us into check. And dare I say, Eric?
Dare.
Do you want to say it, Caden?
That is checkmate.
Wait, what's the etiquette at the end like that? Who
usually you wouldn't
that?
say anything. You just move the piece and hold out your hand to shake. Fortunately, I can't do that, but we'll say the online etiquette is you say the truth and you say, yep, that was a good game. I think I can honestly say that. I mean, I was saying a tournament game usually goes 40 moves. Notice the game finished, move 44, so I won. I'm happy I was able to do it. I won't say that it was just easy because, I mean, the evidence is right there. Move 44, it was a fight.
All right, guys. Excellent job. What a fun game. What a fun day. What a fun week it has been. The end of the game means chess week is over. That's the only bad news. But we had a great time. I hope you guys watching had a good time too. Hope you guys learned something. It's not every day that you get to play chess against a grandmaster, but we got to do that thanks to the generosity of our good friend Caden here. Special shout out to everybody behind the scenes who helped us out today. Behind the scenes, Gina. Behind the scenes, Kate. Behind the scenes, Eric. And of course, behind the scenes, Brian. He always comes through for us. Shout out real quick, as you see right down there below. If you're interested in tips, tricks on chess, on scouting, on life in general, subscribe to Scout Life magazine. Go to scoutlife.org. You'll find some stuff there, interviews with Caden that we've done years ago in which he gave us some good tips. You can subscribe to the magazine there. You can read the magazine online. You can get the magazine in the mail, the old-fashioned way, whatever you prefer. It's there for you. Great job, everybody. Caden, thank you so much, sir. Any final words of advice before we let you go and Chess Fest ends?
Oh, that's a big task. No, I just appreciate being here. I appreciate this opportunity. You know, when it comes, and I talked about this yesterday, but chess, huge part of my life. Definitely a bigger part, but scouting, I mean, that was that was a big part of my life growing up, and so it's just great to be here to support an event like this. And to all those that I played, thank you for showing up. Thank you for giving me a challenge. That's what makes chess fun. And kind of on that same note, that's what I ended with yesterday. Is make sure it's fun, keep it fun. And I really hope and I know for myself this was a fun experience. And since we got that, I'm happy with it, and just appreciate everyone's support.
Agreed. Yes, I'm right there with you. We did have a fun experience. We had a great time. Jennifer comments, great game, fun to watch. Thank you, Jennifer. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks again, everybody behind the scenes. Caden, thanks to you. Everybody out there, have a good weekend, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.